Appetizers, perfect for any party or get-together. We will be making my Caprese Christmas wreath, Italian sausage bread, my grandma's cheesy bacon breadsticks, jam and goat cheese pinwheels, French onion soup cups, slow cooker holiday jelly meatballs, baked clam dip, and my cheesy pull-apart garlic knot Christmas tree. We have a lot to cover, so let's go get started. So let's start out with my Caprese Christmas wreath. You can use a store-bought balsamic glaze, but I'm showing you how to make it here. I have 1.5 cups of balsamic vinegar, and to that I am adding 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, and we just want to whisk that together and bring it to a boil, and then we just want to reduce that to a simmer and cook that by half, and then we just want to set that aside to cool. In a large bowl here, I have 1 pint of cherry tomatoes, as well as 10 to 12 ounces of mini mozzarella balls. We are going to add about 2 tablespoons of nice olive oil, 3 to 4 tablespoons of Italian herbs. I like to use parsley, oregano, and basil, as well as 2 to 3 cloves of garlic minced, and some fresh basil, and we just want to give that a nice mix and let that marinate for at least 30 minutes before serving. And then what I'm going to do here is I have my cute little Christmas ramekin here that I'm going to put the glaze in. And then once that's cooled and we're ready to serve, I am just going to put that in the center of a plate and put my caprese salad all around, and then use some larger basil leaves all around the edge to make it look like a pretty wreath. I love serving this at parties because it is a fresher option to some of the more heavy appetizers, and it's also very festive and pretty. And speaking of heavy and delicious, let's move on to my Italian sausage bread. So in my skillet here, I melted 1/4 cup of butter, and to that I added 1 onion that was finely diced. And we just want to cook that down until softened and season with salt and pepper, as well as about a teaspoon of parsley and 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. And once they are softened, I am going to add in 2 cloves of minced garlic and just cook that for an additional minute. And then I'm going to add in 1 pound of ground sweet Italian sausage. You could also use hot Italian sausage if you prefer. And we just want to cook that and crumble it, stirring until golden brown. And once that is all nice and cooked, we just want to set that aside. Now, if it's really greasy, you can absolutely drain it. So I have 2 large pizza doughs here that I just stretched out into 12-inch rounds. And I'm just dividing the sausage mixture between both. And then I have 4 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese, so about 2 cups on each of these, as well as 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese that I'm just going to sprinkle on top. And then I have an egg that I whisked that I am going to brush all along the edges, and then we just want to roll this up like a cinnamon roll and then pinch the seam together, and then we're going to tuck the sides down underneath, and there we have our little bread. So once both are rolled up tightly, I'm going to place them on a parchment-lined baking sheet and brush with the remaining egg wash. And then I like to sprinkle some more Italian seasoning and garlic powder on top of this. So a little bit of parsley, oregano, basil, and garlic powder. And then I have my oven preheated to 375 degrees. And we just want to bake that until golden brown, about 25 to 30 minutes. And then we want to let that rest for at least 10 minutes before slicing. And serve with nice warm marinara sauce. This appetizer was actually introduced to me by my amazing in-laws who are Italian. This is a Christmas Eve staple in their house, and it is just so incredible. And now moving on to my Grandma Frog's cheesy bacon breadsticks. Long story short, she collected frogs, so my cousin started calling her Grandma Frog, and the name stuck. So I have 12 slices of bacon cut in half, and what I like to do is put them on a baking sheet and par bake them at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes. I believe she just put it on raw, but I like really, really crispy bacon, so that's my one little tweak. But what we want to do once that's par cooked is wrap them around sesame breadsticks and then roll them in a half a cup of Parmesan cheese with a little bit of black pepper. And then we just want to bake that for about 20 minutes at 350 degrees until they are nice and golden brown and super crispy. And then I have another half a cup of Parmesan cheese that we are then going to dredge these in while they are still piping hot. And it's as simple as that, but I promise you, these are absolutely incredible. I am like drooling watching this right now. I'm gonna make them again this weekend. It's something that my grandma has made every single Christmas that I can remember, probably way before I was even born. And I remember her walking into my parents' house with that tray and just filling the whole house with the smell of these breadsticks. Oh my gosh. It just reminds me of all my favorite Christmas memories. So now let's move on to my jam and goat cheese pinwheels. Originally I used fig jam with this, but they're great with raspberry jam or a black currant jam, but I like to use the red for the Christmassy feels. So I have 1 puff pastry sheet thawed, and to that I'm adding a half a cup of whatever jam or preserves you're using, 4 ounces of goat cheese crumbled, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and a little bit of fresh thyme, a couple sprigs. And then we just want to roll that up, wrap it in parchment or plastic wrap, and freeze for at least 30 minutes. We want this to get firmer so it's easier to slice. So you need a really sharp knife, and we're just going to cut these into 1/2-inch pinwheels. And you may want to wipe the knife off in between cuts. So then I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees, and we are going to place these on a parchment-lined baking sheet and brush with some egg wash and bake for about 15 to 20 minutes until nice and golden brown and bubbly. I like to top mine with a little bit of extra fresh thyme. These are the perfect combination of sweet and savory and tangy. And again, they're really festive, but they're also perfect as a little handheld appetizer if everyone's walking around, catching up and mingling. So now let's move on to my French onion soup cups. So I have my large skillet over medium heat here, and I have 1 tablespoon of olive oil and 1 tablespoon of butter that I just combined and heated up. And to that I have 2 large onions that I thinly sliced into half moons. And I'm going to sprinkle that with a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we just want to give that a good mix. And we are going to caramelize them by turning the heat down to medium-low and cooking, stirring occasionally for about 25 minutes. Then I'm just going to add a little bit of black pepper and fresh thyme, along with a 1/2 cup of beef broth. And we just want to simmer that until it's mostly reduced. And then I'm going to stir in 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. And we just want to set that aside. Then I have 2 sheets of puff pastry thawed, and I'm going to cut each sheet into 6 rectangles. And I have my muffin tin greased, and I'm just going to put these into each of the muffin cups. Now you can leave these just as is, but I like to fold them over to make a little bit of a crust. So then we're just going to divide the onion mixture between the 12 cups. And then I have 1 cup of Gruyere cheese shredded that I'm just going to put on the tops. And then my oven is preheated to 375 degrees, and we just want to bake them for about 20 to 25 minutes or until they are nice and golden brown and melty. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you probably noticed the theme of French onion soup everything. It's one of my favorites, but it's just such a great thing for the holidays. It seems so decadent, and it's just so savory and beautiful. And again, a perfect little handheld bite for a party or for an appetizer at a sit-down meal. So now let's move on to my slow cooker holiday jelly meatballs. These are definitely a classic 60s, 70s appetizer. If you need something super quick and easy, this is for you. So in my slow cooker here, I'm combining 24 ounces of chili sauce with 1.5 cups of grape jelly and 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I do believe I halved the recipe for this, so it probably doesn't seem like that much, but I'm reading the recipe from my book that I wrote out. So then I'm going to add 3 pounds of frozen meatballs and just give that a good stir. And we want to cook that on low for 8 hours or on high for 4 hours. This is such a great thing to have at a party or even bring to a party. It stays nice and hot in the slow cooker. You can just keep it on warm. I like to keep some long toothpicks on the side for serving, as well as some little dinner rolls because they make great little mini sliders. So now moving on to the baked clam dip, I have 1 tablespoon of olive oil in my skillet here, and I'm adding a 1/2 cup of finely diced onion, and we just want to cook that until they are nice and softened. And then right to this pan, I am adding 2 cans of chopped clams with the juice. And then we just want to turn the heat off and stir in a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, a 1/2 teaspoon of oregano, a 1/2 teaspoon of parsley, a 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of hot sauce, and some salt and pepper to taste, about a 1/4 teaspoon of each. And then I'm also going to stir in 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs and 1 cup of plain breadcrumbs. You may need more or less depending, but you want this to be a really, really thick paste. So then I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees and my casserole dish greased. And we just want to put this mixture in the casserole dish and bake at 350 for 35 to 40 minutes or until nice and golden. This is literally the inside of a baked clam. I love baked clams. And this is another appetizer that I've always seen served at parties around the holidays, whether it be at my in-laws' Italian Christmas or even my grandma's house. I love to serve it with some lemon wedges on the side and a nice assortment of crackers. Okay, so now last but certainly not least is this fancy Christmas tree pull-apart garlic knots. So I have 1 large pizza dough here that I rolled out into a rectangle. And to get the Christmas tree shape, we need 33 pieces of dough here. So I cut the rectangle into 7 by 5. And then I have 7 mozzarella sticks that I cut into 5 pieces. So we will have a few extra, but you can bake those off on the side. So we just want to wrap a piece of dough around each piece of cheese. And then we are going to form our Christmas tree shape here, starting with 1 on top, then 2, then 1, and then it goes down into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You'll see. And then once those are all formed, we just want to place them all seam side down on a parchment-lined baking sheet as we're going here. And they should be touching because that's what's going to make them pull apart when you take one. And then I have 1 egg that I whisk together, and we just want to brush that all over the top. And then I have my oven preheated to 450 degrees, and we just want to bake this for about 15 to 20 minutes. And while that's baking, we are going to make our garlic butter. So I have a 1/4 cup of butter melted, and I'm going to add in a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of basil, and 1 tablespoon of parsley, fresh. And we just want to whisk that together. And then while these are still warm out of the oven, you can either move them to a platter or leave them right on the baking sheet. And I like to just drizzle this butter all over the top and serve with warm marinara sauce for dipping. These are so addicting. I'm sure you can imagine if you like garlic knots or a good cheese pull, then these are definitely for you. And again, it's just so cute and festive and a great thing to serve or bring to a party. I really hope you enjoyed coming along with me and making 8 more of my holiday appetizers. They're all easy but festive and fun and absolutely delicious. They will be crowd pleasers for sure. Please leave me a comment if you give them a try. I always love hearing from you guys, and thank you so much for watching until the end. If you haven't seen part 1 of my holiday appetizers, I will have that link down below, as well as my playlist for my 12 days of Christmas cookies, which I am posting every other day for the month of December, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.